Yeah. Good evening or good morning. We've packed Martin off on holiday, so it's a takeover from Sydney this morning for what will be possibly one of the biggest games in our history. A Manchester versus Trafford FA Cup final. A huge battle of the Northwest at the Etihad South this weekend. So I think everyone's excited. Everyone's been talking all week. You know, what matters most, this or the Champions League final next week? How are we going to go in a derby at Wembley? Great excitement. How are you, Pat?
All right, thanks, mate. I'm just hoping that maybe the next hour and a half or so we'll get rid of the nerves or pre-derby butterflies. But we'll have to wait and see, mate. We'll see how good you are with words.
I'm not sure I'll be getting rid of anyone's rise. I've been accused of being Mr. Negative the last few weeks as I tried to keep my feet firmly on the ground and, you know, not count any chickens before those chickens get hatched. Hello to everyone in the chat. So welcome to everyone. We haven't got Martin on the screen, but he will be putting up the comments so you can help drive the conversation today. So, Pat, in this week, it's been a very strange couple of weeks for City fans. We were kind of on really high adrenaline for Real Madrid, and I think many of us felt we were going to have another week or two in the title race, so the adrenaline was still pumping. And then suddenly, Arsenal pop up with a defeat, and we're champions. And we have 3 games that competitively, in terms of jeopardy, suddenly became, pre-season friendly. So the adrenaline dropped right off, and now we're right back there. So how are you feeling with the sort of ups and downs of the last few weeks, the highs of winning the league, and then the drop off with the friendlies and the reserves in between?
Yeah, mate. Look, it feels a bit like a roller coaster in a way, but sort of one that everybody can sort of handle. I mean, we never expected Arsenal to sort of capitulate, or certainly fall off a cliff in the way that they did that stretch of games going back to I believe April. I think it was April, May. For us, given it took until February, March really until we started hitting our stride. The fact that we were able to wrap the league up with 3 matches to play. Was I think quite a few Blues off guard. I think fair play to Martin, actually. I think he called it. He thought Arsenal were going to slip up a bit at some stage. I didn't quite see it that way, but then again, you know, our season tickets are batteries and a remote control, aren't they, mate? But look, look, at the end of the day, yeah, I think it was just that you know, everything happening so suddenly and then becoming league champions, and then it's like, well, then of course that discussion became about, oh, what's the momentum going to be like? And then, you know, the mindset was what happened to us 2 years ago. We don't want that to happen again. But I think we're in such a different position now where Pep is able to man manage he's in a much better position to man manage. So while as much as I don't like the idea of, you know, having to play, you know, a match every 7 days, you know, it's not a perfect world, so we can't play every 3 days leading up to this final. I think we've put ourselves in a good position, you know, for this cup final. I don't think I'd want to be in United's position given the injuries that they're going to have. So, yeah, look, you know, it's again what I said. It was a roller coaster, but it was just one of those ones where, you know, it was such a varying different emotions, but all emotions that we could handle, and we handled them really, really well.
Yeah, and now I think this is the, you know, in some ways this game is on Saturday. Someone was asking, you know, what's the most important, the Champions League or the FA Cup, and I think this is where it's really heart versus head. You know, I think my nerves and, you know, my thinking and the desperation not to lose on Saturday is colossal. You know,
yeah.
I wouldn't want to
Rich, I'll ask you this question.
Lose to them.
Aren't you glad? I'll ask you this question. Aren't you glad that both cup finals aren't the other way around?
Yeah, probably, yes.
I think so. Yeah.
But,
so when you look at it from that perspective, it's actually not that bad.
Well, honestly, I'm glad we're getting the derby out the way soon.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Good morning, or should be good evening to most of the viewers, but good morning to you, Alan. How are you?
All right, I'm nervous already about the weekend. To be honest with you, I've not even thought about the Champions League. I'm just more nervous about what's going to happen tomorrow in our time, and it's the thought of getting beat against them is just unthinkable. It's just a sacrilege. We just cannot get beat by them. It feels like it's more important, even though it's not. If you know what I mean.
I just don't want to be known as being like, we lost the first ever Manchester Derby Cup final.
Yeah, it's
don't want to be known as that. Never mind the treble stopping. Never mind, you know, United trying to get a cup double. I just don't want to be known as losing the first ever Manchester Derby.
I've had phone calls from back home all week from, especially my best mate who's a United fan, who's a season ticket holder. He's going, and he's giving me all sorts of grief, saying we're gonna do you. We're gonna stop you winning the treble. Blah blah blah. It's one thing. The thought of
keeping the nerves at bay, mate. That's all.
It's, you know, the nerves are there. Tomorrow I'm going to be horrendous. I'll be going into the Imperial at 10 o'clock and decorating the room because we've got the function room upstairs in the Imperial for the game where we were, Patrick, and when you came down. So we're decorating that, and I am nervous about it, and I've a few of the guys over here who are expats, City fans, are just as bad as me. There's one or two disappeared after the FA Cup final, and then they're going to the Champions League as well, who are season ticket holders at the Etihad, even though they live over here, and they rent their tickets out, so they're going for both games. So a few of them flew out yesterday. So there you go.
Yeah, no, I think nervousness is right, and I think that's what I mean about heart versus head, because, you know, I was thinking about it, and my head says, well, you know, we know that to the club, you know, they'll be the Champions League.
Absolutely.
Rich, I was nervous in Houston 2017 when we played United in the pre-season match in Houston.
Yeah. No, I think that
anytime we play them, it doesn't matter. We can play them in an egg and spoon race, and I'll be nervous.
Yeah, and the other thing that the head will say, you know, clearly we are a better team than them. I was sitting, you know, on someone at work chatting about, you know, a composite City United team, and you're looking at it, and, you know, if you're being completely honest, you'd struggle to get more than a couple of United players in the composite team, so we know we're a better team. We know we're in better form, but and in many ways, I think the one thing that's stopped me from being too nervous is I do think in the last decade, probably the last 11, 12 years, that when a derby has really mattered, so when it's been with real jeopardy on the line, we've nearly always won the derby. We've lost plenty of derbies in that time. We've probably, not lost nearly as many as we've won, but they've very often been stupid ones, like when we're 15 points clear and could wrap up the title against them. Or
I was furious. I was furious.
But the one thing I do think is that when it's really, really mattered in recent times, we've usually done well, and this FA Cup does really, really matter. So you have to think we're going to come out, and it's not going to be one of those lazy derby performances. The City team are going to be on, and I think a couple of United have a couple more players out than we do. Players generally not that good, but Martial does turn up against City sometimes, so some of that will also help us. So how do you see what are your thinking of how the game will go, the lineups? What do you see happening? Any surprises coming our way?
I think I've got a sneaky feeling Mahrez and Foden will play at the weekend in this game, which I'm pleased about, especially Foden because he's a mank. I think that the Bernardo and Grealish will sit on the bench.
So that wouldn't that be like?
I think
3
Aki
weeks
will
off
play.
for Grealish.
Yeah, I think Aki will play. I think, possibly, but I think they're going to get minutes anyway, mate. They're going to come on at some point during the game. I do think he'll make sure that everyone plays. And as much as we might hate this comment and fume, and a certain person in Tenerife will probably fume, this game, like you said, the club and the players and the officials at the club are more focused on the Champions League and the FA Cup. Yes, they want to win the both. Yes, we want to win the treble. And I've said the T word there for the first time. I just feel that if for argument's sake we lost on Saturday, I think as long as we win that Champions League, because that's what the club are focused on, that is the most important one of the two. And Pep will, I'll be honest with you, he'll think that as well. And I know we've had our disputes with Pep on sometimes where he rests players in derby games previously, notably that game at the 3-2 game at the Etihad. I just feel it's not as important to us. It's more important, without any shadow of a doubt. It's more important beating United, and and losing to them is unthinkable. But the fear is there. I hope Adam's right. 6-1. I don't think it will be 6-1 because United are a better side than what we played them at the start.
Utter bollocks! Let's stop right here, right now. I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't going to do this because it's
you only came on to trigger him, didn't you?
I was.
This was Rich's stream, and I apologise to everyone.
Because it's like, look at me, look at time.
I allowed you in there.
I apologise to everyone. Don't you dare disrespect the legacy of the FA Cup and the importance of this game at weekend. Mahrez will be nowhere near the 11.
Martin, you've cost me quite big money there. I had the money on 11 minutes that you were going to take to come on and say something.
I on purpose thought, right, I'm going to goad him in here. I'm going to goad him in.
Don't you dare disrespect the FA Cup. I've heard that shit all week.
Yeah, Richie had that tab bet, score on the first 10 minutes.
Alan had 9 minutes. I had 11, but Pat had 16. He had more fun. So Pat, congratulations, Pat. You're the winner of the the Martin Award tonight.
No, very quick, lad. Alan's gone. Where's Alan gone? Two things. Mahrez is nowhere near this 11. The FA Cup's important. Why? Because it's part of the treble. And without the FA Cup, we don't make history what this team deserves. And we will smash these heritage, historic, red bastards all over Wembley. Trust me. Anyway, I'm not going to let anyone trigger me anymore because I've even left him a pint to come and have a go at that idiot. Where's he gone now?
He's not it, Ron.
Right, enjoy. I am disappearing. I am putting your comments up. Smash that like and enjoy Richie's stream. And don't forget to talk about Kovacic as well. Bye.
Go work on your team.
That's it. Enjoy Veronica's. Oh, that was beautiful. I knew I'd tell you.
I tell you what, Glodic's looking a lot nicer than last time I was there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I wonder if Bobby's is still there. In Veronica's in Tenerife.
I think I have to go check it out because everybody over there talks about it. They talk about Magaluf, Shagaluf, they talk about Tenerife, they talk about Benidorm and all that. And it's like I've got to go and check these places out.
It's the place where you go on a stag do, mate. It's the place where you go on a stag do.
I did Basel away a couple of years ago with a couple of guys from where were they again?
Yeah,
I can't remember what part of Manchester they're from. Sorry, and they were talking about when they went to Magaluf and they were at a bar and this group of this hens weekend came in and one of the girls that came in and she had a tattoo of Jeremy Kyle on her leg, and it was at that moment where they realised it's just like they just finished their pints and then said they never left the pub more quickly in their life.
I know, mate. So obviously some classy girls going there then. Obviously,
Right, so back onto more important matters than your fantasies of holidaying with Martin in Shagaluf. Back to the game. So you've expressed some I have to say I'm with Martin. I really don't see Grealish not starting against United. And I see Pep trying to I see Pep trying to play the 11 he'll play in the Champions League final. I think the two things I do think, one, you could be right on Foden, and the reason I say that is that it's a huge pitch at Wembley. And I do think that in the last derby, Haaland was kept relatively quiet because United were able to really put 2, sometimes 3 players on him, and I think Phil's directness and running at their back 4, I think causes a bit more movement in their defence. So tactically, more than Mahrez, I see a possibility that Foden could come in if he thinks he could do that. The challenge with that is it's pretty rare we ever play a big game without Bernardo, and for me, it's hard to see him dropping Gundo with the form Gundo's in and put Bernardo in midfield. So, I still err towards, we go with that Real Madrid, Arsenal, formation with Bernardo on the right. The one change I do think is interesting is where you say Ake is that we have got that dilemma in defence in that I think, most of the team writes itself, possibly with the exception of that, Foden coming in. But at the back, we really have had 5 players at the back who've played, who could consider themselves, nailed on for the first 11. So we have got that Akanji, Ake and Walker dilemma. I think Stones and Diaz are definitely in, but one of the other 3 does have to miss out. So the question is, do we go back to that successful lineup, maybe where you have Stones at right back and he slots into midfield, or do we go, with, Walker as our fastest, and in form defender at right back, which means that either Akanji or Ake drops out. So
I think Walker will definitely play because of Rashford, because of his pace. I think that you'll have to play him because of that.
Sorry, Alan. The only thing with Rashford is that he's obviously he's best when he plays on the left. He's always played well on the left under Ten Hag.
Yeah.
But Martial's out. He may have to play in the central, and when he plays central, he's not as effective. So there's every possibility that Walker could be coming up against maybe Garnacho, which could be even more difficult.
Yeah, well, exactly. You know, United are not the same side they were at the start of the season. They are a better side now. They're more organised. That's for definite. Yeah. So, you know, but I've got a sneaking feeling there's a caveat in there. I think Pep might rest one of our midfielders. I got a sneaking feeling Foden in the Champions League will play because the Italian side Inter will sit back and he'll leave people to run at them. Rather than
they'll do what Italian teams do, Alan. They'll try and control tempo.
Well, they'll try and control tempo. That's why I've got a sneaking feeling on this weekend. I think he might rest KDB and play Bernardo in there. I've just got a sneaking feeling he might.
Yeah, no, it's
yeah.
Possible,
I think he'll have KDB on the bench and play Bernardo in midfield.
Well, look at the 6-3 game. Rodri didn't play. Nobody expected that. Nobody expected that. Gundogan came in and played. Was fantastic. Yeah,
because he's one person we cannot afford to get injured for the Champions League final. Not what we can't risk at that. Well, and KDB.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. We can't because they could win us that game on their own if the way they play. I just think he might.
I think we'll.
Yeah, I think
we'll play our first. I think we'll go. I think that actually Neil's just the tweet there with Ortega. I think that's probably the forgotten one. Is that we are likely to.
Oh, Ortega's definitely playing. Definitely playing.
But I think Pep will. I think unless there's niggles, I think Pep will play. His strongest 11 bar goalkeeper, because I think that he'll want the rhythm. He'll want to get people back in that game, and I don't think he'll want anyone going in cold to the Champions League final, other than if they've got a niggle. And if De Bruyne or someone's got a niggle and he thinks they're risking injury for next week, then there is no need to take a risk that big. But I guess we'll wait and see. But I would expect him to go with the 11. That the one person he might err towards Aki in the FA Cup final just to take a look at Aki, because it's been a month, so that may mean Kanji gets a rest at Wembley. But I do think that it will be at least 9 or 10 of the same team that starts in the Champions League final a week later.
Pardo, you're saying about creativity with KDB this weekend. Can you imagine if his niggle turns into an injury and he can't play the week after? I hate to disagree with you, but on the same point, I do think that the club think the Champions League's a damn sight more important, which a heart rule overhead, I might disagree with, but if you think about it that way, it is more important. We have to win that trophy.
Well, to see all the players that we had question marks over, all back in training now, which was a huge positive, a huge plus for everyone to see. On the City app, it was great to see everybody training in that. But in a perfect world, I'm sure if Pep's 3-4-0 up with 25, 30 minutes to play, then he could probably take those guys off.
I hope you're right. I hope we are 3-4.
Perfect world, yeah, but we don't live in a perfect world. But if that were to happen, then that would be a perfect scenario for him, because if you can rest your core players for a third of a game leading up to another cup final, I think that's man management that's just going to play perfectly into his hands.
I mean, a week and a half. I'm very nervous about it as well, especially about tomorrow.
Yeah, I want going back to what you said about Ortega. It's like I want to win this and I want the strongest lineup, but given this FA Cup tournament, we haven't conceded a goal at all. I would like to see Ortega get a winner's medal. I think he's earned it, especially in this competition. I think it's
he'll get one anyway. He'll get one anyway. He'll get a medal anyway. He'll get a medal anyway because if he's not playing.
No, but I mean, just he's been between the sticks for the entire FA Cup.
He'll play, mate. As much as Martin might disagree, he'll play.
Yeah.
I think the clue was in the Brentford lineup. I think the fact that Ederson came back said to me that they were going to play Ortega, because I don't think he'd have sent Ederson into the Champions League with 3 weeks off, which is why I think Grealish is nailed on start tomorrow and fitness given. But I think the fact Ederson came back for that was giving Ederson, some game time, some focus, because he's not going to be playing the FA Cup. So I'd be very surprised if Ortega doesn't play. And it does seem that's the deal. You come in and, you're coming in as the reserve keeper in the Premier League. Obviously you can fight for your place. You can get your place. And if you become a better keeper than Ederson, you play. But we'll guarantee you'll start in the domestic cup. Yeah. So you're going to get.
It's Ortega's chance to. It's Ortega's chance to. Write a fairy tale like what Willy Caballero did against Liverpool and Claudio Bravo did against Arsenal in their respective cup finals. So there's an opportunity for him to write his name into the City folklore.
Yeah, and there's one other thing. I've seen a lot of comments this week. I think mainly from older City fans, and apologies if the people who've mentioned this in the chat the older is United really getting stuck into us and kicking us and really making it and to me, I'd be surprised because I found Manchester derbies have become a bit of a hug and swap shirt fest, and they're sort of holding hands and singing Kumbaya after the game. They don't seem. It doesn't seem to be back in the day where Neil Point would do karate kicks, or Roy Keane, Paul Scholes would go in about 35 seconds late with a challenge. So do you think there's a danger of it getting really feisty, or do you think I think we're probably a bigger side than them now as well, to be honest?
I think that if we're winning 2 or 3-0, they might get frustrated about it and start kicking as well. I think that's, but I think the game will be reasonably tight tomorrow. I'll be surprised if it's one-way traffic. United have been playing well the second half of the season, to be fair. So I can't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in two minds about that. You say they played well. When we were back in early February, it was a 3-way title challenge. United were, United at one point within, with a game in hand, 5 points behind City, or certainly within 2 points.
5 games to play.
I think United's situation was they haven't got the backup players to come in and still dominate where we have, and that's where Arsenal have fallen down.
Yeah,
as well.
They've got the bench. They've got the bench players if they're trying to get a result with 20 minutes to play, but they don't necessarily have the squad to replace someone who goes down with a long-term injury.
Correct, that's where I think that's where their issue is. So it's a big game tomorrow. Obviously, we want to win it. I've not even thought about the week after, to be honest with you.
Well, who's their notable injuries? It's basically you've got Lisandro Martinez, who's definitely out. He's not back till next season. Ten Hag came out recently, said Martial's got a hamstring strain or tear or something.
He's out. He's definitely out. And who's the other Anthony's out.
Anthony's out too. So
he's
a couple of other, and Sabitzer's out as well too. He's not meant to be back till next season as well, which could be a bit of a hole in the midfield for them too. But
so they're their long-term injuries.
I think for us, I think Martial's always someone who's kind of overperformed against City, and him being out is probably not a bad thing for us.
He's done quite well, hasn't he? Yeah, every time he plays,
he has against City's, but he does better than he does normally. I don't know what it is. He kind of flatters to deceive most of the time, but he does.
He's like United's version of He's like United's version of Adama Traore.
Yeah. Because he usually scores against us. Yeah, he usually scores against us as well.
Without the baby oil,
Yeah.
He's available. Adama Traore is available on a free transfer, so maybe we should buy him and give him as a present to Oldham or someone else, or Stockport or something, so that we never have to play against him. And give them a help.
Yeah,
nice. Summer present for Stockport here. You can have Adama Traore for the next 4 years, just to avoid him playing against us.
Which United player probably concerns you guys the most? Like, do you think like if there was a tactic that Pep was going to take, like which player do you want us to be shutting down or keeping quiet, like, you know, for most of the game? Because for me, it's Casemiro. You get Casemiro quiet, you're pretty much part of the way there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we go back to the 6-3 game. Ten Hag didn't play Casemiro, which I thought was ridiculous. He shouldn't have played him, and then he proved it for the next few months. He went on an absolute tear.
Yeah, Casemiro's their best player, without a doubt.
He is, but you know, we've played against Casemiro quite a few times for Madrid, and I think generally, Casemiro struggled a bit against, or hasn't looked at his best against City. I think you know, what Gundogan, Bernardo, De Bruyne, etc. do, you know, with their clever play, their movement and stuff. I don't think Casemiro's ever looked a threat. I mean, I'll be honest, the one player who's playing that worries me a bit is probably Rashford, because he's got that ability to, you know, not interfere with the ball whilst he's between the ball and, you know, every City player, and set up goals. You know, I mean, that goal he set up at Old Trafford, I mean, I've never seen a player think and use the rules of the game like that. So that combined with his pace, and if he's not up against Walker and we're sloppy in the middle, you know, that even though we've been a lot better at it this season, that's still the ingrained worry of Pep City is a player on the break, and I think Rashford's capable of that. I think Walker can look after him, but if he's playing, you know, central or on the right, you know, and he moves away from Walker, you know, just making sure that we're, you know, really, really, really alert, and we don't let him, you know, do what, you know, Mo Salah did to us earlier in the season, or has happened a few times, and, you know, letting him go free.
Well, you look at the last two performances in the league when we played United at home. The reason we've got out of the blocks so quickly was because we've been able to play at a tempo, at a pace that they just could not handle. We kept them flat-footed, back on the back foot all the time, and they just didn't know how to handle us. And I think we need to do something similar. We certainly need to start the game in a similar mind frame as well too, because the more we play just, you know, back and forth, sideways passing, and, you know, just more concerned about the element of control, I feel like they'll give them more of an opportunity to set themselves, and then they can play for the break and, you know, catch us off guard. So I think, you know, I think we can afford to go hard and go fast, you know, for that first 20 minutes or so, because I think if we're able to break the deadlock, it can really set the tone for the rest of the game. We just can't see when we played them at Old Trafford. You know, I remember in the post match Martin and I were talking about this, and we said I was happy with the way that we played in the first half, because, you know, Ten Hag the side was completely different to what the United side that we played in the 6-3 game. But also too, you know, at that time we were still trying to find our form coming out of the World Cup as well too. You know, Pep was still dabbling with John Stones as the inverted number 6 and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, we were trying to find our form while United was in a good vein of form. So as long as we don't fall into a similar sort of trap in this game, where we let the occasion of the game maybe get to us, I think that, you know, if we do what we're meant to do, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to have, you know, play a great game and make this
that game. I just think we when we went 1-0 up, we stopped playing. We went 1-0 up. We got to 1-0, controlling the game easily, controlling it, and then we just fell asleep.
Yeah, kind of. But I mean, that goal was that was the absolute momentum killer.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was
absolute momentum killer. Yeah.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
And I think that's one thing. And I think Real Madrid, you know, and Arsenal showed this, is that, you know, one thing, and I know, Alan, you've been very critical of this, like I have. You know, we did, and we have done for years, have, you know, a tendency. I think we saw this against United, we saw it against Spurs. You know, we've seen it in the past Real Madrid, of letting in 2 goals really quickly. You know, we can be in control of the game, and we concede a goal on a break, and then, you know, and admittedly, that goal that they got at Old Trafford was probably as bad a decision as football has seen in this country in the last century. So let's be quite honest, it was truly dreadful, and it's fair enough that the players were utterly outraged, but they allowed the emotion and the outrage to take over, and we conceded another one fairly quickly afterwards because we hadn't got our heads right, and could have they could have got another. Now, what I saw this against Real Madrid when we were away, and Vinicius got his goal. We didn't look like we were gonna, we didn't give them 5, 6, 7 chances straight after. Same against Arsenal when they got a goal back against us. We didn't give them 5, 6, 7 chances. We actually, focused the emotion in a positive way, didn't fall apart, went back and said, right, we're gonna play a bit more conservatively for the next 10 minutes. We may not have the control and the attacks, but we're not going to let that. So that's one thing I think Pep has been more pragmatic this year, and I think certainly since February. So I do think that I'm a bit less nervous now that if they got a goal against them when I play, that we're gonna fall apart in the way that we did used to see. I think we now look like we'll just weather the storm for 5 minutes, get back in control, and then come back. And that's what we know about this City side. We are, and we've shown consistently the ability to be pretty mentally strong. So I think I'm feeling a bit more comfortable that we won't have that sort of meltdown. And I think we're also seeing pragmatic Pep in that at Real Madrid. I think even last season we'd have probably gone for it when we got back to 1-1, and we may have gone and won 2-3-1, but we may have lost 3-1. But I think this time it was like, no, we're not going to lose this. We're going to keep control of this game, and we're going to go back to the Etihad and we're going to beat them. And I was one who was like, bring Foden on. That defense is tired. Let's really have a go. But I think Pep's like, no, we've got this game in control. Yeah. We're gonna hold it out. So I think we've got a pragmatism. I think the other thing, and the comment on the United kicking City, is I think City are quite a big side now. I think we got used to us seemingly having a very physically small side. I guess with that, but we've seemed to have bulked up a lot. We seem to, I think Haaland coming in, obviously, instead of having, one of our tiny players as a false nine, but also Grealish is Grealish is quite a strong lad. Rodri and De Bruyne are pretty physical, strong players, and now we're playing, the back four. We often have 4 very, physical, strong players at the back. So I think the kicking thing, I think we'd man for man do them more harm than they do us. So I'm not sure too much that'll happen either.
Okay,
so,
Rich. I'll ask you a question, pair of you, and we'll go Rich first. Name your team against United.
I think Ortega.
Yeah.
I think we'll go. I think he will play Ake because I think he wants to know if Ake's ready for the Champions League. So I think it'll be Ake, Stones, Diaz, and Walker. I think Walker may not play the Champions League final. I'm not sure. Depends on what we think, how we think they're going to play. And though I'd go I'd bring in Phil. I think we might go for the the normal Gundogan, De Bruyne, Rodri, Grealish, Bernardo, Haaland. Although I would like to get at Wembley. I think that's what Pep will go at Wembley. I'd have Phil. I'd find a way to play Phil because just the because I still think Phil's as good a player as we've got. I think it's Wembley's made for him, and I think I want to give a bit more of a wild card at United's defence.
Okay, but Patrick.
If I was doing it, I'd probably have to drop Gundogan, which seems absolutely crazy, as he's probably been our best player of recent months. I'm not sure if anyone could do that.
Well, Patrick.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much the same lineup as what Rich said. I'm just torn between whether I would start Foden or Bernardo. Whether I want a bit more directness in that attack or whether I want a bit more control in that midfield. That's the thing for me. Now, if Stones is going to play, he's going to play inverted at times, especially in possession. So I think we can afford to have we can have a bit more control, so we can sort of compromise by allowing a bit more direct players up front with Phil Foden. And I think you need direct players against their attack because they do show signs at times being flat-footed in defence, especially if they can't handle a quick tempo. So that's the only thing. Look, Alan, I'll give you my lineup, but that's just my provisional sort of lineup. It's either or with Foden or Bernardo, because I just can't decide whether I want directness or I want more control. Look, the other thing I wanted to make. Oh, actually, Alan, you say yours, and I just wanted to ask one more question as well. Your line, what your lineup is.
Right. I think obviously it's the same back four, the same goalkeeper, Ortega and Stones, and will play in the back four coming out when he needs to. Walker will definitely play for me. Aki will play. Diaz will play at the back. I've got a Rodri will play CDM. I've got a sneaking feeling he'll play KDB, and I'm going to put Bernardo instead of Gundogan. I think Gundogan will. You need to make sure he can come on and control the game if he needs to. I want to play Foden on the right and Grealish on the left, and obviously Haaland in the middle, up front. So I think Foden is, like you say, I agree. He's made for Wembley, and I think he's a bit more direct. Well, a lot more direct than having Mahrez there or even Bernardo. But Bernardo has to be on the pitch because they can move around. You could even rotate Bernardo and Foden if he needed to, and move Foden into the middle if he needed to during the game if things are not quite working out properly. I think there's more versatility there if you play them there, and it also offers a bit more legs in midfield. I think City need to get hold of Casemiro, and I think Bernardo will sort that out.
I think Bernardo brings attitude as well. You know, I think of all our players, he's the one who brings the attitude, and he will be able to wind their players up a bit and cause a bit of bother.
Bernardo starting is Bernardo could do one of those performances where you could easily see Casemiro get another red card. He should have got sent off against Madrid last season. Madrid when we played him in that dreaded semi-final. Like a year or two back. Look, I wanted to mention this, and I was thinking to myself. You know, someone mentioned in the chat. I think they said something about play pretty much the same lineup as we did against Madrid, and that's a decent shout. Now, I would not be surprised if United went into a similar approach to what Real Madrid did. You know, just be patient and then obviously play for your moments on the break because they can afford to do that because they've got one of the best back threes in the world. Front threes in the world. Now, do you feel like United might do a similar sort of approach?
Well, they played man to man, didn't they? They played man to man.
Yeah,
Madrid played man to man.
The only difference is I just don't know if they have the same patience as what Madrid does.
Well, one thing I know about United over the last few years, they've been very good on the counter, and they've torn us apart a few times by doing exactly that. So we have to be wary of that. That's why I want Bernardo on the pitch, because he's one of the people that you can count on to stop counter attacks and coming back as another CDM and midfield play if you need him. That's why I want Bernardo in the side, and that's why it's imperative we try and keep him as well. Because I know that the rumours are that his missus is kicking up a fuss about bringing a child up in Manchester and all this carry on, but we'll just have to wait and see. That might be the reason why he's gone out and trying to get Kovacic.
That could be chat for another episode. But we'll come
back to Kovacic soon. We'll come back to that in after the
4 weeks.
Game, but
4 weeks. Martin will come back on now.
we'll need to fill in time during the off season. So there's an episode.
Yeah, exactly.
So carry on, Pat. Sorry.
Hey. No, I wanted to quickly say about Bernardo. Like I said on previous shows, it's like I don't really want to talk about Bernardo whether staying or leaving until the end of the season, because if we do get the T word, then he has my blessings to go, because he has left. Never mind leaving on good terms. Again, as I said before, he's left on the best terms. What a way to go out. Same with Laporte, same with Gundogan. They have my blessings to go, because look what they brought us. Full stop.
I think essentially there's some comments on the on them playing on the break in the thing, and I tend to agree. About talking about Pep and their counter. I think the best counter-attacking side in the world is probably Real Madrid, and if we play with the intensity and the press that we did against Madrid, we virtually negated any counter. We negated players like Modric and Kroos, who are probably the absolute masters of instigating counter-attacks, and we stopped. They got in the second leg, I think it was that one break when Vinicius, where Walker cruised back like a Formula One car and got the ball off him, and they obviously got a goal in the first leg when not pretty much a counter attack. I don't think it was a pure out and out counter, but we got that. But I think we pressed both Arsenal and Madrid, who are better counter attacking sides than United are. We stopped them from barely having a single counter attack by the quality of the press. So, if we can do that, there's again, this is the head talking, not the heart. But if we can do that, United do not have players as good as Madrid or as good as Arsenal for instigating a counter attack. And if we press like that, we will make that very hard for them to get more than one or two. And honestly, if Walker's back to deal with that, then I think that puts us in very good shape. See, Martin can't resist. He's going to come in for 10 minutes now, Alan. I think whatever you said has got Martin. I think he's coming. I can feel it. I can feel the vibes all the way.
You can sense his presence.
He's coming on.
He needs to get another pint in Bobby's and in Veronica's, so and just calm down, and we can listen to this. He can listen and not come in, but he can't resist it.
Yeah.
Do you see United doing something different, possibly with this lineup as well? I mean, an example I want to use quickly, Alan, is the last few weeks with their injuries, especially at the back, they were playing Luke Shaw as left centre back, and then they'd have Malacia or Dalot, I think it was, who would play at the left back. He played a good job at it. That left back.
He played
against us in the derby.
Yeah, like that.
He played centre back. So I think
he did.
At Old Trafford, he did. And he actually that was one of Haaland's quieter games. But I think I don't think they'll do that if they've got the right centre backs fit. I'm not sure if they've got Varane and Martinez fit, but if they are, it's hard to see why they'd play Shaw out of position. Shaw prefers it at fullback anyway. It's nearer the biscuit tray. So
friend of Greg's.
Yeah. So I think I don't see him doing anything too strange. You might see him putting in a bit of a slightly tougher midfield than they put in some games. I think if I could have any, apart from obviously beating them, I'd love to see Fernandes getting sent off, because I think he is one of the most whiny, pathetic, petulant
he's temperament
that I've ever seen in my whole life. I'm not saying I've seen him.
Can he ever go in derby where he doesn't look like one of those wacky inflatable tube men from outside a second-hand car?
Yeah, and where he's not, where his bottom
and he doesn't need to do it.
Quiver.
There's a quality player there, but it's just this whole diva thing and just carrying on. It's like there's quality there, but don't. It's just horrible. It's just.
But he, you know. Dumb. He makes you know, someone like Ronaldo look like giant haystacks in his, you know, mental. I don't know. There's something there that just
we've just got rid of our Winger, haven't we, in January? So he's obviously best mates, aren't they?
Well, possibly, but at least he didn't show it with the quivering lip and the everything else on the pitch. I mean, you know. At least his whinging was just trying to chin the manager, but you know, I cannot think of a player who annoys me more, you know, probably in the last decade than how that he strikes the whining, the drama, the back chat, the tears. It's just absolutely bloody ridiculous. So there's just no dignity there. If he was in my club, I'd have to kick him out, even if he was the best player, just because it would just embarrass me as a fan having to watch it. And you know, and they've got a lot of players like, I mean, you know, it's just particularly him. I think as a side, there's probably less of that from them today than there was for most of last time, and I don't see that from players like Rashford, etc. But just
Rich, here's a big question: Would Fergie have tolerated that if he had Bruno in his squad?
No, I think Fergie
no
would
chance.
Yeah,
no chance.
Fergie would have had him on
the stands. Probably sees it. You know, he's getting on for his age. But even at his age now, Fergie look at the stands and be able to see Bruno and be like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, because there's been a couple of games this year, like the 7-0, and you know, and when we beat him, where he just. I think he was captain, wasn't he, in the 7-0 against Liverpool? And just his actual kind of leadership and attitude, I think that's what drove it almost drove the defeat, because it was just absolutely pathetic. I think Fergie would have him stripped down to bare feet in a pair of shorts and send him for a 15-mile run on the Pennines, you know, or up on the, you know, the moors outside Alderman. He'd say, right, you know, it's, you know, 5 degrees and it's raining, but you've got a man up, lad. I want you to go and do a 15-mile run if I see your bottom lip quivering during a game again. And if I hear you whining, you know, it's because it's not like he kind of, you know, gets Roy Keane style and shouts in the face of the ref. It's like, it's just like, oh. So that's probably what's going to wind me up the most on bloody Saturday. I'll probably be spitting blood by about.
You'll be on Bruno watch, mate.
About his behaving. You know, it'd almost be worth taking a red just to, you know, slice him off the pit. You know, bring back Neil Poynton from retirement. You know, he probably can't raise his leg more than about 4 feet, you know, high enough nowadays. But yeah,
it was the fullback that it was the fullback that did the really bad tackle at me I think at home years and years ago. That was, he never even got booked or anything. And then TV looked at it and he got banned for about 8 games. And he shoulder charged this guy straight into the side of the pitch.
Ben Thatcher. Ben Thatcher.
We could do a Ben Thatcher against him, money, because he was a hard lad. He didn't mess around, did he?
That was just ran back and just absolutely smashed him.
And then it sort of went under the radar because Joey Barton was there at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
You never knew what you were going to get from who.
Yeah. He was. I remember that, and I was in the Colin Bell stand when he did it. I went, "Oh my god!" Yeah, how he got away with it, I don't know. But what was more ridiculous or out of control? Was it that Thatcher challenge, or was it when Danny Tiazzo tried to fight the City and Norwich benches at the same time? Oh yeah, well the thing was when he got sent off against Norwich. Someone had antagonised him, and he chased across the full length of the pitch for this guy, and we all went, no. And you could see it coming. We were like, you idiot.
Yeah. And then Tiago came out in an interview with on Optus Sport a couple of years back talking about that. And he actually, a lot of people didn't say it. I don't think Kevin Keegan ever came out and said it, but like Kevin Keegan went up the tunnel to try and calm him down. He actually grabbed Kevin Keegan by the throat and said, "I'll effing kill you." He was that wound up. He was that wound up from it. It's just.
My second week in Australia, when I moved to Australia in 2007, I went to see Melbourne victory against Brisbane Roar when Danny Tiato was playing for them for Brisbane, and he got one yellow card. Then he took this guy in the second half by the knees and got another yellow card. The referee forgot that he'd already booked him, and then he got the red card after. I'd never seen anything like it. He got 3 cards in a game, and I started laughing. And I just thinking he has not changed at all. He was difficult. Yeah, the A-League standard refereeing, but there we go.
Yeah, well, I think it used to be the norm in the derby. I mean, we used to, back in the 80s and 90s, there was always a real edge in that derby. I think that's one thing that's gone from it. You don't get the Neil Pointons and Steve McMahons and things that we used to see in the derby. It does tend to be a lot cleaner playing. I mean, I guess that's true of football overall, but the edge does seem to have gone, and part of that probably reflects.
You can't tackle like that anymore, though, can you? That's the thing.
Yeah, you can't tackle like that. Obviously, you go back to the days, where half the teams on both sides were born and bred fans of the teams, or were brought up hating United or hating City, and so you had that real local emotion. But you'll see the derby this weekend, and there'll be how many players are there going to be who are likely starting from Manchester? You might have Phil and Rashford probably. I agree. I think that probably takes some of the edge out of it. So how do you? So before we move on to talking a little bit about some of the transfer rumours and the news going on there, how do you actually see? Not a score prediction or anything, but how do you see the match panning out? What do you see happening on Saturday?
I'm hoping for a 2-0 win, which I think it will be 2-0. We'll win. But I'm going to say after extra time. And I hope not, because we don't want players getting injured either.
I couldn't handle that.
No, I know. Can you imagine?
Regardless of what you say, the 2 goals after 90 minutes, no, I couldn't handle that. I think I could.
Well, I know for a fact you've got Sam Neill and Spencer Pryor with you on Saturday night, mate, because they're coming into the pub.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
I spoke to Spencer yesterday.
Sorry, Pat.
No, you're right, mate. Look, as much as if we turn up, no reason why we shouldn't be able to get a good win. But being typical City, and my City eye, just blue tinted spectacles on, that record of clean sheets will go out the drain probably in the first 20 minutes. We'll probably concede, but then if we get it right, if we're going to concede, let's concede early, because I think it'll give us plenty of time.
Here he is. We knew it coming. I knew
there we go. Someone pulled the trigger.
I knew
Look, I'm going to go for a 3-0 or 3-1.
Look at him shaking his head.
Because I'm confident, and I've got to say, fair play to these guys here. You have got rid of a fair bit of my nerves. They are coming back now when I see Martin's tan, but look.
Martin, you've got a bit of colour, pal.
I have to say, I think that Erling is going to have a big game. I think the sun's going to be shining. It's going to be 21, 22. I think Erling has had a bit of a
29 degrees there, mate.
His robot body.
29 degrees.
Martin, Pat and I live in that, so that's just not that exciting.
Listen,
what about me?
Yeah, you live in bloody minus, 14 degrees and rain.
Listen, I'll say this now.
2 days into winter and we're still hitting 20 degrees.
I don't know what Alan's on about, extra time. the bloody hell's Alan even on about? Extra time?
Yeah.
What's he playing at?
Haaland's going to do it. Sunshine on his back. I think he's going to get at least 2
They
goals.
said-
The wind at his face, the sun at his back.
And
Keep saying that.
he's going to have space. It's big pitch, sunshine. You know, it's not a game United can play for a draw. So I think Erling's going to have a good game, and I think he's going to get a couple of goals on the way to City winning it in 90 minutes or 95 minutes or whatever it takes. So I'm actually, you know, feeling, my head at least is feeling pretty confident. I think even my heart thinks Erling, it's his day.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, kept saying it. There's a reason Pep rested them all down for 3 weeks. Rich, you're spot on. The 11 that played Madrid will generally be the 11 that play at Wembley. Foden won't be in the team because I think Foden has to come back for me next season and start again.
In the midfield next season.
Yeah, come back next season and start again. No, why would you change a winning formula? Real Madrid, smacked. Bayern Munich, smacked.
If it ain't broke,
RB Leipzig, smacked. Arsenal, smacked. If you look at all the big games this season, it's generally the same 11 that's good. He's got his trusted 11. And I'm telling you now, I don't fear this lot at all.
Ortega will play, so he won't play.
Ortega will play. Apart from that, Ortega will play. But I think it'll be the same 10 in front of him. I think the nerves of it being a derby, I understand. Quality-wise, they're not in our stratosphere. Never mind league, they're not in our stratosphere. I heard all this off Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. History, heritage. Stick it up your arse. Couldn't give a damn. We're the future. We're the here and now.
What score?
That's why Alex Ferguson's got his bottom lip out giving the LMA trophy to Pep Guardiola.
Martin, what score is it going to be?
4-1.
Okay.
I think we'll absolutely trounce them. And then I think they'll get a couple of days off. And then we march to Istanbul. And the only time that's dodgy, but we'll talk about that more next week, it'll be if Inter Milan get the first goal. But I think we beat them. I'm that confident. I think this is history. The players are all relaxed. Pep's at Elton John. Half the players are at Coldplay. Half were there last night. Half are there tonight. Ruben Diaz is having a bit of fun. It's like Ruben Diaz said today, these are the games you live for. These are the games you live for. And this team has proved, without a shadow of a doubt, we have to trust them. And when the going gets tough, this team gets going. And United will not know what hits them come Saturday. And then they can all have the little 5-minute train journey home, back to Croydon or east side of London or west side or wherever they're going. So, listen, let them all have a bit of fun. But they'll be crying come Saturday night. Crying. And I'll be dancing up the M6. Dancing.
Good lad. Where'd you fly tomorrow?
No, Friday night. My car's parked already at the airport, ready to roll. Straight into the car. My missus get a taxi and I go down to Wembley. I had tickets for the Champions League final until they got sold out and I ended up with category 2.
You did what? Say again, what was the end bit you said?
I had 2 tickets in category 4 in my basket this morning. I was paying for them. Yeah. They sold out a category 4 as I was paying. And I ended up, and then they've only got a category 2 left, €490.
Are you going?
No. I'm not paying $1,000 for 2 tickets.
No, don't blame me.
I'd have paid $140 for 2 tickets.
Yeah, don't blame me.
I was going. And FIFA, I will reply to you, mate, when I get back to the hotel. Anyway, I am lurking. The reason I'm lurking is because I have to end the stream. But Alan, don't worry.
All right, man. We'll have a chat. Don't worry. We'll have a chat when you're at the airport.
Listen, have a chat with me on Friday night. I'll have a bit of a therapy session. I'll calm you down.
Get your zen. You get your zen in. Yeah. Burn some incense or something, Alan. Just, yeah.
It's a big week.
Anyway, I'm going to say, Rich, Pat, you're doing a tremendous job. Keep it up, boys. Yeah. And Alan, cheers for joining. You're doing a so-so gig.
Oh, right, okay.
Good. It's good from you.
Yeah.
By the way, smash those likes, and you've only got 2 more weeks to enter to become a subscriber and become a member to win the signed KDB frame and the signed Bernardo frame. So you've got 2 weeks deadline on that. I'll come back at the end and end it. Anyway, right. Mateo Kovacic. What's the signing? Let's go.
We'll talk about that in a minute and just chill out. Get back to San Miguel and just enjoy that, all right?
You get back to your suicide watch and go and have a chill out.
That's a terrible beer, by the way, San Miguel. I'd rather drink Foster's.
Yeah. But it's like...
How do I end that?
You can get that.
Well, he won't go. Oh, he's gone. Thank God for that. Yeah, well, I've got a big weakness. I'm going back down to Tassie on Thursday because my mum's got an operation on Friday. Yeah. So,
well, we're wishing her all the best, Alan. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's why I won't be going to Istanbul. My mum's more important, to be honest. I'll be watching it with my father, who took me in 1971 to Main Road against Coventry City when I was 5 years of age. And ever since then,
don't mention Coventry City. That just reminds me.
No. That was at Main Road night game. I fell in love with Main Road when I came down the tunnel of the Kippax and saw the green grass and under the floodlights. And that was it. I was in love.
Yeah.
There we go.
Tell you what, VAR is going to be interesting at Kenilworth Road. That's for sure.
Same here, but I'm
Stuart Atwell walking in Andy Doris's house to check the replay on Sky.
Listen, I've been there. When we got beat 3-1 on the plastic pitch, and we walked in past the houses like that. And when we were coming out, there was I presume a mother and daughter having their dinner through the windows and walking. We're all waving at them. It's unbelievable. Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's but I tell you what, I would pay big money that when we go and play him in the league, that for Pep to wear hush puppies and a fawn sort of beige suit, and then when we beat him, to go and run around and dance around the pitch.
Yeah.
You know, in celebration.
I
have got lifelong, hatred for Luton because of what they did to my childhood in 1983, and we're going to have to batter him a few times for me.
David Fleet, you'll never be forgetting for doing that. I was in the main stand when that happened, and I was
the only person. Yeah, the only person I've forgiven for that was Brian Horton, because he might have been their captain that day. I forgave him because I did love him as a City manager, so he got forgiven. But the rest of them, man, I just absolutely hated that. It was just David Pleat, always hated him, So
right, guys,
there we go. So anyway, we should probably
before
talk
we
about
the 1980s wormhole again. Let's move on to transfers.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with 1980s wormhole. The glory days of Main Road.
Moments, for God's sake.
They were the glory days of Main Road.
Superb days.
Yeah.
The glory days of lower division football at Main Road, I should have to say.
Exactly.
So
are we going to talk about transfers?
Yeah, I think we should. I think we had a couple of people early on in the stream commenting on that, so I think we said we'll come back to that. So obviously there's a bit of news coming out that we're in fairly advanced position with talking to Kovacic, and also talks are ongoing with Gvardiol, and I think there's a lot of speculation obviously about us signing another midfielder, possibly even a lot of whispers now about a winger, which would fit with my view of perhaps Pep's starting to think about Foden in the middle where he should be. So Kovacic, I guess, is the first one, and seen quite mixed opinions from City fans. I've been quite surprised to see a number of City fans saying Kovacic, no way, which I actually reckon he's, perfect signing for us, but which I can, talk about in a minute. But what about you two? What are you thinking?
First thing I must say is that Martin wants everyone to know that he got these two correct about Kovacic and Guardiola, whatever you want to call him. He's been saying for months and months and months that City will get them, even though they've not agreed terms and not agreed pay structure with him yet. They're still very much in the talking stages. And nothing's been agreed. But it's quite interesting. I did my research yesterday lunch about how many players we're in for, and people have been discussed. We're currently on the 51st player that we're going to sign this summer. So and like I say, until they sign, I keep myself. I don't really comment too much about who we're going to get, but. Kovacic he's 27, 20, he's 28, is he?
29. He just turned 29.
29, right. So to me, I think he's being bought for experience. He's played football for some very important clubs and done fairly well. He was player of the year 2 years on the bounce at Chelsea, apart from this year, which, let's face it, there isn't one player at Chelsea at the moment playing well, not one. So there's a lot more things going on there than meets the eye. But it looks like it's that way, and I'm still not convinced that Bellingham's coming anywhere near City. I think there's only one direction he's going in, and that's to Spain. So we will see. But he's a good footballer. He's got lots of experience. He links up well. He beats people in midfield, which he does. And he's played for some very big important clubs, and I think he's been bought for experience there, because if Gundo is going to go, then that's why he's been bought, experience.
Yeah, Martin will be back on now. Charlie's, put the diss in.
Well, Alan, from what the news sources are saying, and they've been coming thick and fast in the last 12 to 24 hours. It looks as though personal terms are agreed. The only thing is just Chelsea and Manchester City have to agree with the fee, which they're saying 30 to 40 million, and it looks like they're going to meet right in the middle at 35 anyway. Chelsea are in a fire sale. They need to offload these players, so I think we'll probably call the shots a bit more in terms of agreeing to a fee, because the longer it lingers on, the more more risk they are of any sort of wage bill sort of discretions or anything with the Premier League or the FA, possibly. I don't know how it works, but when you got that many players in your squad, surely they're gonna be coming with a magnifying glass and looking and seeing what you're up to.
I'll tell you who I would like is that Kimmich. When I saw that link, I went, "Oh yes, please." Yeah, because I do rate him. I think he's a cracker.
They'd be off their heads, dude. I mean, they're saying that he's fallen out with Tuchel, and he, was really pissed off about, what happened there a few months ago with being the manager. But to me, I've pretty much thought he was their best player in recent years. So I just find it bizarre. But then again, 6 months before Cancelo left, a lot of City fans would have been saying he's one of the best, and if his attitude has gone off the pitch because of things that have happened, then I guess they have no choice. But it just wouldn't make sense to me selling a player that is that good and that central to one of your Champions League rivals. And I'm very pro the Kovacic deal, because I think he's one of those fairly versatile midfielders, is in that he's not, he does go back quite a lot to sit and then, attack almost, he does attack, and he runs directly through the middle in the way De Bruyne does, or we had, potentially Yaya did. I think he's technically good. He's, and you could see him, in some games being out of play, almost a bit more defensively, in other games a bit more forward. So I think he adds flexibility, experience. I think he's got the the technique, to be able to come in and fit into City's side. I think I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and they were talking about one of the challenges for City when or two challenges for City. One, and I've said this a number of times, we've been really, really lucky with the fact we've been able to rotate at the end of the season and with injuries. Our midfield, I've felt all season, with Phillips not cutting the mustard, not really being an option.
Do you think he'll stay?
I think it will depend whether Pep's seen him in training every day. Pep will know whether he thinks it's ability wise or it's mental or it's tactical what is holding Phillips back. And I suspect that Pep will have his mind made up that yes, I've seen enough that he is gonna make it. We'll keep him, or he'll have seen enough to say.
I think they'll give him another year. I think they'll give him another year. And he has
yeah.
Do you know something that could be interesting? Do you know what Kovacic's shirt number is at Chelsea?
I don't know. I can't remember.
It's number 8.
What is it? 8?
It's number 8.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So make what of that you will.
I think I don't know. I thought 3 weeks ago Gundo was going, but a lot of the leaks to the press and some of the stories coming out now seem to be almost flipping the other way.
What you got to remember though, Rich, is Gundogan is 34, KDB's our 32, 33.
Yeah, I thought they were 30. I thought they were 32 and 31. I don't think.
Yeah, well, listen, they're getting older, another year older.
Oh yeah,
That means they have got to be rotated more next season than they were this season.
Yeah, no, I think we were like. I think we were one.
Kovacic in is a good move. I think.
What it is to me. Sorry, Rich. Just quickly, I wanted to just say before I said what with Kovacic is, and I said. I'm going to excuse my ignorance, but the reason I'm not blown away by it is because I honestly haven't watched as much of Kovacic as I should have. So I just don't pay attention to Chelsea, really, honestly. And apologies to any Chelsea fans, but yeah, that's just how it is. But given the quality of the player and the caliber and the experience he has in the Premier League, it's a very, very sensible signing. So even if you're not impressed by it, it's still a sensible signing. And I think I hope that I'm proven wrong when he plays next season, because I think he'll be a good addition, and I'm really, really happy with the signing. And I think I'd be more impressed if I just spent a bit more time and just
researched. It's not signed yet, though. It's not signed yet. Yeah. It's not signed yet.
Yeah,
pretty damn close, though. Pretty damn close.
I think even if Bernardo and Gundo had renewed, we still need that signing. Yeah, well. We've been too light this year. We could have had, if heaven forbid, Rodri or De Bruyne or both had gone down with serious injuries, we wouldn't have won the league. I think we've got pretty lucky, touch wood, throw salt over the shoulder, Heather, etc. But I think we've got very lucky this year with injuries, and because Phillips had been fit and had done well, then that may not be quite the case. But we have been so light and we have been so lucky, we've barely had, among those 4 key players who play in our midfield week in, week out, we've barely had, apart from a few niggles, we've barely had an injury. And that's a miracle. And we would not have won the league if Gundo or De Bruyne or Bernardo or Rodri had gone down with a serious injury. We wouldn't have won the league. And
Rodri's special.
Yeah, we've got to strengthen in that position. So, and as I was going to say a bit ago, listening to that podcast was, a point very well made, which is that in Gundo and Bernardo, we have 2 players who are so versatile that if, one or both of them go, it's not replacing one player, it's replacing 2. Because if Bernardo goes, we're light on the right wing in terms of that wide forward playmaker, and we're also light in midfield because he plays both those roles. If Gundo goes, in a way, we're lighter at 6 and at 8. So we've got to, we've got to, if one of them goes, and I guess I'm thinking at the moment, my gut tells me Gundo, we will offer Gundo 2 years because of his form and he'll stay.
Yeah.
And I think Bernardo will, I probably said it last time as well, Bernardo is going to go. But if Bernardo goes, I think we need to replace 2 midfielders, and
let's get right. I hope Bernardo doesn't go because I think he's irreplaceable. I really do.
Oh, no. Yeah. And Pep said that he's one of the most important players,
massively
the best players he's ever managed. So, and he's a big game player for me. I mean, the thing with Bernardo is in big games, against big teams who are going to give us a close game, that's when Bernardo in some ways is at his best, when it really matters, when we really need that energy and that help in midfield, that's when he thrives. So I think I think if he goes, we are going to have to replace a couple. I mean, the one I'd love us to change our position on, because we really haven't looked like we're going for him, and he's going to get ruined if he goes to Liverpool. I think McAllister. I think there is a player who I just think I think it would be the way he plays. I just think Liverpool would be bad for him. I think Liverpool ruins midfielders. I think Liverpool have shown they can be, for attackers, really good fit, and for defenders. And I think it's hard to argue that a lot of the players at Liverpool haven't got much better in defence and attack under Klopp's tutelage. But I can't think of many midfielders who've really gone and improved. And I think usually the best thing about Liverpool's midfield is them looking up or looking to the side as either the fullbacks or bomb down the wings, or the centre-backs kick it over the midfielders' heads to the attackers. So, I think he's too good for Liverpool, because, I think they're most likely to be our closest rivals next season again. But he's too good to play midfield for Liverpool. He needs a team where he's a player who could play 6, 8, and 10. He's a player who could grow to be a really flexible midfielder who could do all sorts of jobs like Gundo, like Bernardo. And I would just love to see. I'd love to see Pep working with him. He's 23. I'd love to see Pep working with him, and I think he could be turned into one of the best players in the Prem. But we don't seem to be interested. And honestly, if he goes to Liverpool, I think that could be a career ruiner, which would be sad, because he could be that. As Austin says, he could be that younger Gundo. He could bring in that flexibility. So I think almost more than.
Have we made an approach by McAllister? Have we made any noise towards him?
I've not heard much at all, to be honest.
It's safe to say you would be on our list of people that we're showing interest in. But I'm surprised we're not showing more interest, because if we're out of the race for Bellingham, then surely that transfer money for Bellingham would be looked at a plan B like McAllister. And I say that lightly too, because I think McAllister wouldn't be a plan B. It'd be like a plan A- to Bellingham. I really, really do. And I'm surprised we're not showing a bit more interest. But then again, I mean, I think we're not really going to start sinking our teeth into the market until both these finals are done and dusted. So really, don't expect your phone to be blowing up with alerts and that probably until like really close to 1st of July, when all the contracts start becoming effective. The other question I wanted to mention too before we went away from Kovacic was the other thing that I feel confident about Kovacic is he's not going to need a season to bed in under Pep's rules. I think he'll hit the ground running straight away, given his age and his experience in the Premier League, and the fact that he's played against quite a few Pep teams now since he came from Real Madrid to Chelsea. I think he'll be hitting the ground running straight away. He won't need. The only time he'll need a bed in is after the preseason, which everybody else will be doing the same. He'll be ready to. But once we hit our stride again, come that that usual October, November run when we start getting things together leading up to Christmas, that's when I think he'll be ready and flying.
Give Vater, how are you doing, mate?
I'm calm. I'm calm before the storm right now. I am. I'm calm. It's Thursday. Will I be the same tomorrow? Will I be the same on Saturday? I don't know, but
well, if you're not sure, mate, just take a good look at us then.
You're drinking water. You're relaxed.
You think it's water?
He's
leaned back in that chair.
I'm relaxed at the moment because the guys have calmed me down. But trust me, underneath all this, it's Friday in Melbourne, so tomorrow I'll be like this all day.
Oh, Matt, Alan, bloody hell, you're a glass case of emotion 24/7.
You sat behind me. You're the week in the Imperial, and you're laughing your head off, eh?
Yeah, I was. Thanks for the entertainment, mate. Yeah. Look forward to next time.
You need that. You need that fan that's going to be like.
It's always happened. I walk in the Imperial nervous, look at Alan, and he said, "I'm fine now." Alan was nervous at the preseason in Melbourne 7 years ago.
Yeah,
8 years ago.
Every time we play, I'm nervous. I start snapping. But we're 4 minutes from the end, and we're 4-0 up. I'm still shouting and screaming. I still think we're going to lose.
Yeah,
it's like that's my first experience when I first went to Main Road as a 7-year-old. I remember sitting, you have all that awe-inspiring, view of the ground and everything. And then I remember throughout a large chunk of the game, a couple of old men sat in the row in front, moaning the whole time. Couldn't hit their, a cow's ass with a banjo, and this is the worst City side I've ever seen. And Power, you're the worst player we've ever had, and just 90 minutes of moaning, and and it just makes me laugh. Like, you can just see Alan there with his little. It'd have to be. I think it was probably a beige suit or something in those days. Your beige suit, your flat cap, your hot Bovril, and just sitting there moaning. And I look at it.
Beige suit with the patch on the elbows.
Yeah. That's it. I've got here and here. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the blazer.
I'm kind of debating right now, actually, because I got asked, "Hey, Vader, this is kind of historical. You're going to do a watch along?" And I was like, "Ooh, might be some." I'm tempted, but at the same time, my neighbor said, "Hey, let's go watch this game at the pub. Let's go to the City Supporters Pub and watch it there." I'm leaning a little more that way because, again, historical with many more people around me is something that I'm leaning towards. So the nerves are calm now. Whether it remains the same on Saturday morning, I don't know. But I do love the fact that I know some disagree. I do love the fact that we're playing against United, because I think there's no this game isn't important. There's no we can look beyond it because of who's in front of us. Because it's United, I think the players are going to be like, yeah, we're dialed in, we're ready. So,
which is more important, FA Cup against United or the Champions League final against Inter Milan?
For what we've never achieved before, it's the different hardware. But it would never be, I'll take a loss at a chance at a win. It's, I will play to win to also play to win. And
you're sitting on the fence here, aren't you? You're sitting on the fence here, aren't you? There's a certain person in Veronica's now having a San Miguel, nearly sweating and about to come on if you say the wrong thing here.
Alan, let's be clear. There's a certain person stood outside Veronica's, desperate to go in and have a few beers, but who can't because we're still talking. And
no. His message is going, get in here now.
Yeah, we won't keep him much longer. No, I mean, I would love for the club to win the Champions League. I know how it's kind of like the one or there's a few because after you win Champions League, you get other competitions. But it is that one trophy that's not in the cabinet right now, and I know what that means. But I would never sacrifice an FA Cup final for the chance of winning one. No, I gotta play both. I
don't even know really why this whole would you rather the FA Cup or the
would you rather?
I think it's which one you most.
Would you rather is ridiculous because to me it just seems like it's made by pro red sort of fan channels and that we're basically saying like you are gonna lose one, take your pick. But
right.
No, I don't think
we've
so.
been dominating English and European football for the last all season.
I think it's
to win.
Yeah. No, I think it's more I think it's a bit of a generational thing, to be honest.
Of course it is. Yeah,
there is a big element
purely a generational thing.
Old fat City fans, especially I get old fat City fans, especially when if you went through primary school with Reds and that sort of thing, and honestly, for your life, for those living in Manchester, for your life, for going to the pub on Saturday night, for going to the pub on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the rest of the bloody season, rest of the bloody year, they'll be dining out on, if they beat us at Wembley, they'll be dining out on it for fucking bloody 10 years because they've got nothing to dine out on nowadays because they're, they might win a, Littlewoods or Milk Cup or whatever it's called nowadays once a decade. So it's huge for them. And you just can't have them. You just can't give them anything. And so, so I think to the older fans, it is more important that we beat them. I mean, like the misery they've put us through, the nonsense we've had to listen to them, ugly, unfunny United fans coming and going on at you about this or that. It's just absolutely ridiculous. We can't have it. It's just, that's why it's more important. Whereas maybe younger fans haven't had to listen to that crap because they've been able to watch City absolutely dominating them for a decade, absolutely dominating them. And so, in that case, you're using your head because clearly to Pep, clearly to the owners, the Champions League is the big one. We know that. But honestly, that's the thing. You ask me which one I'd rather lose. It would be I'd rather lose to Inter Milan because it would bother me far more losing to them. Bother me far more. I know it because ultimately, when it comes down to it, your heart rules your head. So, and that's the thing. So, I know it's it might be a question on rag channels, but I think generally it's been used a lot by younger City fans to laugh at some of the older ones about getting utterly emotionally caught up in the FA Cup. You've got a Champions League coming the week after.
Yeah,
but I'm also
at the end of the day, it's a generational struggle with Blues because like you said, Rich, I think we don't mind the younger fans because they're helping the older generation start to like the Champions League a little bit more. The only problem is if UEFA come out with more rubbish charges and other crap coming out against us and stuff, then we'll just go back to the older generation will go back to square one. But then you need the older generation to keep the younger generation humble and understand that winning this cup final against the Rams is pretty much the core of what it is to be a proper Blue, be a traditional Blue. We want to beat the Rags at everything. I said at the top of the show, I said we want to beat these Reds at a bloody egg and spoon race. We need to beat them every time we play them.
Right. I have no idea because I wasn't listening. Who asked that question?
I think it was
Alan. No.
Yeah,
be a big
Alan.
Boy.
Me. And I did it on
Alan, 2 weeks ran off the channel.
Hey?
Is that 3 times he's pushed your buttons button? Is that forcing you to come on?
Martin, I'm not saying it. Mason knew exactly what I was doing because he was smiling and laughing at the same time.
Listen, do you know the answer is, Alan?
You've got all the beers gone everywhere. Yeah,
they actually did. By the way, the answer is both.
Yeah. Is that a filter or is it still just a bit of spilt beer?
Yeah.
No, he's getting some sun out there. No, I want my cake and eat it too. I want my cake and I want to eat it too, and that means I'm taking this FA on my way to going after that big-eared one. I want them. And
But sorry, go on, mate. I'm just somewhat on Bellingham.
the thing that, and maybe I'm traumatized, maybe this is PTSD, but my uncle that really introduced me with regards to Manchester City, he told me about that banner, like that banner that year after year,
34 years, yeah.
not winning. Like, so this is the hey, we've done this, you haven't. That's been going between the Rags and us. That I've kind of like, yes, not proximity, but I've lived through, and that's why I don't want this FA loss to them. I don't want it. So,
Rich, why did you put that banner up at the Swamp? It was a bit harshy that before you left.
What?
That's why you left the country. Put a banner up and went.
Yeah, we should have a banner up. We should put a banner up soon. About how many.
By the way, Muddy Duck's got here 75 to 100 million. That ain't gonna get Bellingham, Muddy Duck. So there's some concern on Bellingham. He can agree all they want, but if Real Madrid think they're going to get him, if Real Madrid tell you 80 million, because if you notice, it's all coming out of Madrid. Nothing's coming out of Dortmund. It's all Madrid. Madrid will tell you it is 100 million euros. If it was, ask yourself this question, if it was 100 million euros, why is he not in a Liverpool shirt?
that's a good point.
Because that's what they are.
They offered the same.
Good point.
So why would they reject Liverpool's offer but accept Madrid's offer?
All right. Okay.
Oh, that was supposed about. Yeah, it's about 80 million quid. They're blowing it to go. But no, I'm Bellingham. Listen, I think Madrid will be the favourites, but City out.
We'll see.
Right.
No, I'm not thinking he is, but don't believe this that he's worth he's going for 80 to 100 million, because like I said, Liverpool would have bought him otherwise.
He may never have wanted to go to Liverpool. I mean, that's the thing. That all came from Liverpool.
Don't say that, Rich.
Well, no, it's true. I just hope that Liverpool don't. I know you're saying it's done, but I hope someone comes in and hijacks McAllister to Liverpool. So, yeah.
No, I'm only going off Fabrizio and others were saying earlier that it's virtually done. He's on his way to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, you can never believe anything because everyone's always virtually on the way to Liverpool because every single professional footballer desperately wants to play for Liverpool. If you haven't lived in your 2 up, 2 down in Bootle, what footballer doesn't want that?
The only thing that I would ask, if we got McAllister and Kovacic, that definitely means someone's going.
Yeah, no, I think we could sort of said, I think, I don't know what everyone else feels, but I think there's a bit of a view that Bernardo will probably go and Gundo will probably stay. Seem to be the collective opinion here on the latest rumours. But no one wants Bernardo to go, but
it's not up to
many. Actually, let's ask a question about Bernardo. Would you happily let him run out his contract if it meant we could have him for two more years?
No.
You let him go. You let him go for free if it meant we could get him 2 more years, or would you rather him go now?
Oh.
Would you rather him go now and get some money out of it?
I'd offer him more money to stay to a contract at City.
He doesn't care about the salary, mate. He wants to be closer to Portugal. That's the thing. You could offer him KDB. Really. You could offer him KDB top money.
Paris is not. Paris
isn't.
Yeah, but it'd be quite. I know it sounds weird saying like he'd go to Paris to be closer to home, but then again too, he'd be back in sort of familiar pastures because remember he was at Monaco before he came here too. So
it's not style.
If that's his idea of familiarity or closer to home, then that's his opinion. But
Alan, hang on, I'm going to say this very, very clearly to Alan so he understands it, and Rich understands what I mean by this. You two left Manchester because you didn't like it. So why's Bernardo got to stay? It's not good Manchester.
Yeah, that's strictly true. I left Manchester because I was a teenager and my dad got a job somewhere else.
I'm joking, but Alan was a teenager. Alan was 40 when he left.
I left because I left because I got offered a job, and at that point we weren't taking over. We had Stuart Pearce losing every game.
And what's Bernardo doing? It's a job.
I love Whitefield so much. I live in Melbourne.
Yeah,
He's not a City fan. This is what people need to remember. Bernardo Silva is not a City fan.
Yeah.
He's a football player that plays for City.
He's a Benfica fan.
Exactly. So Paris might be back to it.
Yeah, but Manchester's nearer to Lisbon than Paris, so he's going further.
No, do you know what it is, PC? I got wound up by those rags earlier. Addy knows what I mean. I was in a space earlier while the missus was in the shower, and the United fans were so arrogant, right up.
Yeah.
And I gave them both barrels.
So you say, can I just get this right? You were in a rag space earlier.
No. We were in the City space about the FA Cup fight. And all I got was, we've got history, we've got heritage, we've got Fergie, we've got this. So it's not the History Channel.
Mate, I love the fact that you know what, someone said this. It was actually a City fan who said this the other day. He goes, the worst thing in Manchester football today is that City are turning into United and United have turned into Liverpool. And we've got the kind of we're starting to get fans with not us, but fans with the arrogance and the success and the winning everything. And all you ever hear from United fans nowadays is history. And the only way you can tell rags and scousers apart, or red scousers, I should say, not being unfair, the only way you can tell them apart is the pronunciation of history, because it's all you hear from either of them. And
I know.
I like that. I like that.
Just going back to that question there. Sorry, go on, Rich, because Abdallah's put something there. If no one pays the money required, then he ain't leaving.
Yeah.
But he's only got 2 more years left.
Yeah.
Well, 2 more years of prime Bernardo.
You can't let him go for free. We're still a business. He's an asset.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Martin, I wanted to ask you what are your thoughts on the Kovacic signing? Because I did mention before that I think he'll slide in straight away to the squad. No, like season to bed in. I think he'll be ready to go.
I'm happy with it. I think he's
very sensible. It's a sensible signing, isn't it? Yeah.
All I would say is don't look at Kovacic at Chelsea. Look at Kovacic at Madrid and other places. Don't look at the Kovacic at Chelsea, because that place is a basket case of a football club.
Yeah.
For 30 million quid.
I think he's still been all right.
A more experienced guy at 29 for 30 million quid you could get. This could be an Akanji signing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I think he's a very good signing. And the one thing I'm gonna hedge the halfway between you lot on Bernardo. I reckon when Bernardo goes, as I said before, the biggest problem is we lose a player who in the same game can be playing a wide attacking playmaker and defensive midfielder. So we lose 2 players. And tactically, when he goes in big games, that's going to be a huge conundrum for Pep, because there isn't someone else in our squad today who can do that. And I'm not sure there's any players around the world who you could easily bring in and do that. You could get young guys like McAllister, you think have got a lot of talent, and maybe mould them into that. But I think at the moment, I think it would be a huge problem. So if I was City and had the choice, I would try and keep him one season. If we get 70 million for him now, we'd probably get 45 million for him next season. I think it would be worth keeping him for an extra 12 months whilst bringing in a player who we think we can start to ease into the side, and giving ourselves a year to figure out how we deal with big game wise, how we deal with a life without Bernardo. So I'd be inclined to say, well, Paris, if you want him today, give 95 million, 100 million, make him pay top dollar. And
everyone is missing the very obvious problem here.
His missus.
Bernardo. You just said
but
tell me how we replace KDB, because we've got to do that in a year to 18 months.
Yeah. But we've got to, I'd still prefer, whether it's Bernardo or Gundo, I'd still prefer we replace them whilst they're still here, and give ourselves that year.
But I don't see the club letting him out for free. They didn't with Sterling. Sterling was out free.
Yeah, but he's got Sterling went with a year left, and I'm saying I would prefer, if Bernardo's not going to sign a new contract, I would still prefer we keep him for a year, lose 25 million or whatever that year will make a difference, and sell him in a year's time, having signed a player this summer and given them a year to start to adapt our big game play. Because if Bernardo goes, we're playing a new way of playing against the top teams cold next season. Whereas if Bernardo stays, we give ourselves a year. And I don't think we're going to throw away 70 million, but I still think we get 45, 50 for him with a year left. And we might get 70 with 2 years left. And I'm just saying that I think that 20 million for an extra year would be worth it.
Yeah.
All right.
Even if we say we're not going to let him go for free.
Let me put it this way, like Charles Play and others who said, right money. Emerick Laporte's not going to go for the right money this summer.
But I think the difference is
people can't.
I think we get 40, 50 million for him, and we paid 50 million, 55 million for him.
Yeah,
anyway.
they will. He's a world-class player, Mike. We know that we've played all our big games this season without Laporte. So we know, whether it's Real Madrid away or whether it's Arsenal at home in the league, we know that without Laporte, we can be a stronger team. And
I'm going on the swing.
we know we can be a strong Laporte, Bernardo. If we went into a big game tomorrow, we would not be as good on 11 without Bernardo.
No, I agree. They're not going to buy. They've not started talks with the Gavardio without knowing Laporte might be going.
Laporte said goodbye on Twitter.
That's what I mean. He said his goodbyes. He cried at the game. Laporte's off. Laporte's going. Yeah. And I do think a midfielder will go. Who that midfielder is, I don't know. Because I honestly think we'll sign 2 midfielders, but I don't know who's going to go out the door.
I think
could be Gundogan, could be Phillips. I don't know.
I think we might sign 3 and lose 2. At the moment, I'd love to know the thinking on Phillips, but Pep will know. Pep will know whether.
FIFA disagrees with it. Because wait, Laporte says goodbye. I doubt it. He cried at the Etihad, mate. That told you everything.
Yeah, he did.
He sent out a tweet saying all met with a picture. All journeys come to end and time for new beginnings. And he's still with his missus, so it was nothing to do with.
Oh, that's a bit harsh, But Charlie, we already know Bernardo's a napper. So
he's not unhappy. He just wants to go closer to home. He says, "Well, his missus does."
He wants to go further from home by going to Paris, which is further.
I'll change the wording of it. He's not unhappy at Manchester City. He's unhappy in England.
Yeah.
Can I talk about probably the elephant in the room, certain Mr. João Cancelo?
Bye.
What are we going to do about him?
Get rid.
Of course, I think we're unanimous that we want to get rid, but how are we going to get rid? Where are we going to get rid?
We're going to hope
substance to the whole Kimmich thing. Is there anything to that? Or I don't think there is anymore, because it seems like Bayern have just said, no, you can have him back. We're done.
Do you know? Yeah, I don't know that Bayern have said that. I don't think Bayern want to pay that amount, but Tuchel's been relatively complimentary. There's going to be Bayern have probably got 5 or 6 players who either want to go or they want to get rid of. Tuchel's going to change the team. You've got Pavard who said he wants to go. You've got a lot of rumours that Davis is going to go. You've got Mane.
If Davis
changes happening off the pitch tomorrow.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be, and if Pavard goes, and Pavard said he wants to go. I think he's got a year left. So that says to me that they need a right back. So maybe it'll be a case of Bayern actually a very, very, very rare case of a swap happening and buy and say, like, these 4 players are going, is there a deal? I don't see Kimmich because I think he's about their best player. But if he really has fallen out with, the manager and the, what do you call them, the executive at the club, then, that's possibly different. But, I don't see that. But I could see, there's players like Pavard, there's players like Davis, who
Davis
are likely to go. And they've got a lot of kind of wingers and, fast midfielders, young midfielders who can't all play in the team at the same time. So there's some players there who might be useful at City. So I don't know. But, it seems to me he'll go and it'll be about financially the best deal for us. I suspect.
I'm not even bothered about the transfer fee, Rich. We're getting that toxicity out of the club, and that's
we are. But
that's just as important as how much you're going to get in return for them these days.
But we don't want to. We don't want
as important as as
we don't
much
want
as
to
the
do
value. It can factor in the value of a player actually. So.
Yeah, but what we don't want, Xavi's moaning about the fact he wanted to get Cancelo, wasn't allowed, but by all accounts, they wanted to take him. We pay half his wages, and they pay nothing. So we don't want that. We do want, I know it's not going to be 70 million, but I think we want to get some money for him. I think that's very important for the fair play, and very important for what we spend on other players to, get some money for him. And, I'm far more worried about getting money for him than I am for Bernardo, because if we don't get anything for Cancelo, we're getting absolutely nothing from him. If we don't get money for Bernardo, we're getting 2 more years from one of our best players. So, I think we'll just see. And I think we probably should be. We're just coming up to the 2 hours, and I know Martin's desperate to get into Veronica's. He's got a couple of pina coladas and a beautiful little green, one of those little umbrellas you get cocktail waiting for him, and he's very excited that it's still 26 degrees at whatever time of night it is.
I want to apologize if I was laughing a little too much before, because in all fairness, I didn't know Martin's Mrs. name. So when you were talking about getting into, I took that joke the wrong way. My apologies. Veronica's is a bar. If I'm,
it's a whole area.
It's a whole area. Okay.
Typical Canadian, always apologising.
Sorry.
Typical Canadian, always apologising. Sorry, eh?
No, so Martin, when they were joking about you trying to get
he
into
thought Veronica was
I thought they were talking to your missus, and I was like, whoa, what is this? But I get it now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so he thought we were being inappropriate when we weren't. We were just talking about
he couldn't get into Veronica's.
I'll let you wrap up. All I'm going to say is I'm going to let Rich wrap up. Big thank you to everyone for joining. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. We're back Sunday for the FA Cup post match, not Saturday because I'm at Wembley. Sorry. We'll do it Sunday night, and then we'll start the countdown to Alan's final. Start calling it Alan's final.
Alan's final. I'm with it.
I think we can be very quick in wrapping up, and I think all we need to say is Pep and the rest of the team, go down there and crush them. Do it for us. Do it for all those years of misery. Really take it to and play your absolute best, and let's be going out on Saturday night, and let's be watching, or in our case about 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. I want to see some United fans crying with misery. I want to see some humiliation. I want to see Bruno Fernandes sent off, the first player sent off for whinging in the history of football, because the referee just loses his patience and just a red card. Let's make it miserable for them. Let's set ourselves up for Istanbul. one of the most important games of our life. Go and do it. No excuses. Go and do it.
100%.
Good night.
Yeah, and by the way, if anyone wants to give Alan some advice to help for Saturday night, that'd be greatly appreciated.
No, just come. Any Blues that want to watch the game at weekend? The Imperial, which is on the corner of Burke and Spring Street in central Melbourne, opposite Parliament, will be showing the cup final. Hang on, and it will be on the first level, which is the function room. We've booked that out for all City fans. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, Sydney Blues will be at our usual watering hole, Cheers Bar, 561 George Street in downtown Sydney. Anybody in attendance, I'll be there early from about 7:30 in the evening, setting up. And of course, Melbourne City, Manchester City's affiliate club out here will be playing their A-League Grand Final against Central Coast Mariners. So that could be big for the City Football Group again. So if you're in the Greater Sydney area, please head down the Cheers. There'll be a stack of us there. As far as I know, they're only allowing City fans into the pub that night. So it should be a great turnout, and I'm looking forward to getting a bit rowdy, and let's have some fun, and let's batter them Reds.
Go on, mate. You might as well plug you as well, mate.
Opera Bobs. Come on, Opera Bobs.
Opera Bobs. You want to go to that house? Manchester City fans will be watching this. I mean, it's going to be the FA Cup final that we're dealing with in this case, but also when we venture for Champions League. So I'm going to do my best to be there. If I'm not there, maybe I might venture and do a watch along, but I think I'm going to celebrate it with other City fans on that Saturday. So look out for some posts that I might share on social media with regards to the event, but check me out there. That's Toronto, by the way, for those of you that don't know. I'm in Toronto.
Are you going to the pub at weekend, Pat, Rich, or not?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Give Spencer a call then, because I think he'll be driving.
Rich, you have to now, because the last time you said I don't go because I'm bad luck, and then you didn't go, and then we lost. So now you're at a crossroads, mate. You're at a crossroads, yeah.
By the way, big up to Rich and Pat for tonight. Superb job, lads.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Mark.
Where's the other one now? I'll see you all on Sunday.
Till next time, everyone.
Great job, Alan. Take care, guys.
City.
Thank you. Great job, Alan. Thank you.